Welcome to another episode of the Truth About Real Estate Investing Show with me, Arminda Simao, as your producer and host. The truth is, we do have more than 17 listeners of the show, and I want to thank every one of you who has left a 5-star review on iTunes and shared the show with people you care about. It is thanks to you and our wonderful guests that we have ranked number 81 in all of iTunes in the business category. When I started this podcast in 2016, I had no idea this podcast would be a top 100 in any category in the entire world. So I'm speechless. Shout out to my friend Jay Wong, who is a mega podcast producer, for sharing this on social media and letting me know. I don't check. And as an ask for you, my 17 listeners, please do continue to share this podcast. And if you haven't, please do leave a 5-star review. It'd be nice to read some comments as well. I do read some of them. I generally avoid them because I try to avoid the negativity that's out there. But for those of you who do care about the truth about real estate investing, there are many unqualified real estate experts out there. Many of them are good people. They don't realize they're unqualified, and they have, unfortunately, bad advice. And sadly, a lot of them paid a lot of money for inexperienced but charismatic coaches. I was chatting yesterday with a recently bankrupt real estate investor who has been advised against coming onto this show by their lawyer, but I'll share my thoughts. I did bounce my thoughts off this individual, again, a bankrupt investor, owing almost 10 figures. It's very sad. There are several real estate investors and businesses who are going bankrupt. It's still early. There's many rumors out there. I haven't seen anything like this since 2008. This I actually think it's much bigger now because of the amount of there's good and bad of social media. I do think with the popularity of social media, again, more people were able to raise capital and gain fame thanks to social media, and then more investors have ponied up money. Hence, there's more companies that are going bankrupt. Again, many are good people. They unfortunately just put their trust in tens of thousands of dollars into memberships and coaching programs, who often did teach a lot of good stuff. But too many investors bought too many properties too fast without proper systems to execute. Mindset's not everything. Anyone who tells you that can feel free to come hang out with my friends, because even like Corey Leaf, who was on the show, a very successful entrepreneur, we joked on the show, vision might be 10%. Without execution, the other 90%, you're going bankrupt. So, and also the quality of the deal to me is everything, not mindset. Quality coaching and mentorship is everything as well. But to me, those are based on track record. And again, there are a lot of unsuccessful coaches out there right now. And when I say, so rightly or wrongly, I evaluate a coach or a membership group based on their client outcomes. How are their customers, how are their coaching clients doing? I personally was lucky, and my own first joint venture partner, my ex-wife, has a renovation business. Her father, who mentored us, was an office investor, but he was a very successful master plumber. I experienced firsthand how difficult renovation projects are, including staffing them. I've personally swung hammers, I've removed rusted out plumbing stacks from 100-year-old properties, and slung paint on walls and ceilings. I didn't do it long because I wasn't very good at it. I almost hurt myself many times. I've had my own burrs, my own flips go over budget, take too many months too long to complete, putting a strain on budgets. For that reason, we only ever did one local project at a time, as that's all my team could handle. It had to be local because it needs to be close in order for time purposes, and also for staffing. We teach our clients the same. Again, that was how I learned how to real estate invest, and it's always worked out for me. This is the same thing we teach our clients, and we'll only work with the best of the best contractors, as there's only so many of them. To me, from my experience, again, staffing a renovation project is not the easiest thing to do. Hence, we are ultra conservative on how many projects we take on at a time. This may have kept us from scaling up big, but also kept us from being overstretched as generally. Again, we only ever had one vacant in our own portfolio. We've only ever had one vacant property at a time. That was the property that's being renovated. So we always had rental income coming in to cover everything else. And we've also had past guests of the show who grew really big portfolios, 50 doors, 100 properties, like Russell Westcott, Jared Hope, Ben Oosterfeld. They're all good people, but they shared on the show and the lessons they learned. So hopefully everyone's had a chance to listen to those. The pursuit of a big portfolio and the rush of raising capital was not the way to necessarily build a successful investment portfolio. A successful investment portfolio is one that makes money. Making money is the key performance indicator, not how many doors or properties one has. It's making money, and that includes cash flow to cover everything. And that means different things for different people. If you're a real estate developer, and cash flow means very, very different things versus myself as a small residential real estate investor. Making money, a good return enough on your time is important, and also on your grief. That to me, that's a sign of a good investment. Joe Costanza, who's been a client of ours, he used to drive, I think, about 4 hours each way to Sudbury. So that was his choice. I let him know my thoughts on that. But again, that was his choice. He felt it was a good return on his time. That wouldn't have worked out for me, but everyone has to make the decision for themselves. Again, while being a visionary is great, vision's great. But without execution, a business is doomed. It's well documented that Apple would be nowhere without Steve Wozniak, and then later on Tim Cook, who is now the CEO of Apple. Elon Musk did not do this all alone. He's not just a great visionary. It's my opinion that, and it's one of his greatest talents, is attracting top talent, right? Because you still need to execute. Vision, ideas, they're great, but you still need to execute something that people will pay for. There's risk. The risk is great in every business. Apple, Tesla, SpaceX have all nearly gone bankrupt several times. I believe novice investors and novice coaches do not understand the risks, as these recent bankruptcies in the real estate market involved investors holding multiple flips at the same time. They're either flips or they're burrs, or there are developments with no rent coming in, financed with expensive private money, right? No investment is without risk, but to me, it's all about mitigating risk through continuous improvement, implementing best practices, surrounding yourself with a quality team, a quality coach, and quality mentors. None of our clients like these interest rates, but from my speaking to clients, I still, I speak to clients all the time. I speak to my coaches all the time, how our clients are doing. And our worst case scenario for our clients is, like the worst story among our clients is they might have to sell a property or two. They're taking profits, right? They're taking profits. The funny thing though is that these are what we're coaching our clients to do. If you're tight for money, sell a property or two, take your profits, pay off some of those debts, right? The funny thing is about probably at least 80% of my clients say no thanks. They expect their investments to improve over the medium long-term range. So they'll suffer, canceling Netflix or Disney Plus or eating home more often. They're cutting back on expenses in exchange for greater future returns. So if you too want to learn my best practices from investing since 2005, being an investor, being the original investor specialist, realtor since 2010, my team of award-winning coaches who have done 100 duplex conversions and another 100 or so student rentals, then do make sure you're on our email list to get our offers, including I have a free book, the Canadian Real Estate Investing Playbook. We have webinars. We have one coming up in a week or two on how to convert a house into a triplex, which is teaching folks how to take advantage of the new Doug Ford legislation, which will allow us to do so, to create triplexes by right. We have street smart property tours of Hamilton and Oshawa coming up, where the rubber meets the road, and we actually apply our theory to looking at actual investment income properties. You don't want to miss it, because from my experience, we all have to work to invest, and then we invest to live. Now, speaking of folks who invest to live, we have client and single mom Arminda Simao as our guest today. Arminda is a student rental investor who's going to benefit massively from the over 40% increase to the market rental rates for student rentals. as per the show title, her current cash flow is about $1,500 per month between just two properties. $1,500 per month across just two properties. That cash flow will more than double, possibly triple, with the new rental rate, with the new market rental rates, the inflation on student rentals. And such is the benefit of buying right, using a fundamentally sound investment strategy, renovating with a return in mind, and the importance of mentors, friends, and community. Quality. If you're interested in investing like in investment properties like Arminda, my award-winning team of investor specialist realtors are ready to go. You can find us at www.infinitywealth.ca. You can find me on social media, if not already. I give you Arminda. What's keeping you busy these days?
Oh, quite a bit, actually. I have two kids that are now, one is in dental school, one is in denturism school. We have 3 dogs. I know, I'm pretty busy. I actually tell my friends all the time, now that the kids are older, I feel like I'm busier than when they were actually younger. One of my friends said it's because we facilitate them in their world of trying to be adults, and we're just facilitating, and that keeps us busier, and I actually agree.
Oh, I would have thought it'd be easier. Like, you're not shuttling them around for like soccer and dance and all those sorts of things.
100%. But then I have my daughter Alexia, who's in 3rd year dental school, and she'll be like, "Mom, can you please go to such and such dental office and go pick up a jar of extracted teeth because she has assignments?" And yeah, so that's what I've been doing the last couple of weeks, going down different dental offices to go pick up jars of extracted teeth from unknown people.
Wait, she's in school. This sounds like real stuff.
She's in school, and it's real stuff, and she's already seen patients, and a lot of her projects, actually, she has to have real teeth to mimic a situation. So if you saw my laundry room where we keep jars sometimes of unknown people's teeth, it's quite interesting.
I have so many questions, but I don't think I want to know.
I know. Yeah.
So you said nothing's off limits.
Nothing's off limits, Erwin.
How much does school cost?
Okay, so so school for Alexia presently, it's $50,000 tuition a year.
All in? Nothing else?
That's just tuition. That's just tuition alone.
Like lab fees or books or anything?
Everything's included
Okay.
in respect to that. But then there are extra things like her loops, which can cost up to $4,000.
What is that?
So the loops are, those looks like the magnifying glasses that they wear, dentists will wear, with a miner's lamp on it.
They're that much?
Yeah, it's about $4,000, and she has a pair, and she just invested in another pair right now. A little cheaper because the magnification is a little different. So all in, you're looking at about $6,000 to $7,000 just on loops alone.
Okay.
Yeah. Becoming a dentist. Hopefully it's all going to pay back one day, but right now, it's expensive.
And this is after 4 years in undergraduate?
After 4 years, yeah. So she went to McMaster University for 4 years. She got an honors in biochemistry, and that cost about $45,000 for the 4 years, minus the living expenses that we were lucky enough, as we'll probably talk about a little later, of owning a property, so there was no fee in terms of rental. But yeah, that was about $45,000.
Just tuition alone?
Just tuition alone,
and
yeah.
Computers and books?
Computers on top, give or take, because we did get a new laptop when she started university. So it's pretty expensive.
Okay. And so $50K a year for dentistry school plus other stuff.
Yeah.
$6,000 to $7,000 for the ocular wear. But yeah, wow.
Yeah.
I thought there'd be some deflation there, but obviously not.
No.
And then she just lives for free?
And no, of course. And then obviously, so we had to make the decision, does she commute from Toronto or from Mississauga where we live to Toronto, or does she rent? Now, dental school is not like an undergrad. So they're in school from 8 in the morning until 5.
Ooh.
Yes. So the commute would have been a little bit nerve-wracking for her.
At least an hour each way.
Each way, right?
Yeah.
And now let's put in if there's an accident, if in the winter time, right?
Yeah.
Road conditions. So we thought that just for her own mental health as well, it would be better to rent. So she hooked up with a partner, with a dental school friend, and they rented a condo in Toronto.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember we discussed this.
We did.
What year, when was it?
This was 2020.
Oh,
Yes.
You cut it near the bottom.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. I actually contacted you because I thought, should we invest in Toronto? But the prices are crazy, as we all know. So we made the decision to rent.
Right.
So she got into this lease with her friend. And of course, COVID hit, right? And well, it had hit in March of 2020. And this is now July of 2020.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody was still very unsure what protocol dental school was going to take in terms, would it be hybrid, would it be in person, online, and it was just very fluid. It kept changing, and we actually ended up paying for a year, and she barely even lived in Toronto.
Oh, nuts.
Yeah, because a lot of it was online. She would go twice a week for in clinic lab assignments, but she was mainly living in Toronto. So we were paying. So her and her roommate found a really nice apartment place on Shooter and in Jarvis, more or less.
I recall it was really nice.
It is really nice. They were actually the first ones to move into this place on the 6th floor.
So brand new.
Brand new, 2-bedroom, 2 baths, which was very important considering they're both dental students, have the same schedule, getting up at the same time of the day. So yeah, it was perfect until, like I said, COVID hit, and here they were paying, and they had to have internet. So we're paying internet, hydro, at least the minimum payments for hydro, because obviously they weren't living there, so it wasn't a lot of usage. But for that year, yeah, they basically were living at home.
Right. And then how much did it cost for rent?
So that when they first signed the lease was $2,450. It included It includes a parking space.
Oh my God, that's a sick deal.
Yes, it is a very good deal. And you know what? So we agreed, because Alexia does have a car, that we would be paying a little bit more because she has a car with a parking spot. And then her roommate had a budget of $1,100. So my daughter and I, we concluded that it was worth Alexia paying a little bit more, because Alexia actually has the bigger room with the ensuite bathroom.
I don't know, it probably didn't feel like at the time, but I knew you were getting a deal.
Yeah, I know. You seem very positive when I spoke with you, and I was like, okay. I told Alexia, we got to sign, because I'm getting good vibes from Erwin, so I think we're on the right track.
Yeah. Yeah, no. Well, in hindsight, you're like $1,000 in the market.
Right.
Based on today's market.
Based on today's,
like
exactly.
two bed, 2 bath with parking.
Yeah.
You probably would be paying more than $1,000 more than what you paid.
And it's a brand new apartment. They have a beautiful pool. They have gym. And you know what? It's 24-hour security concierge building as well. Very, very safe, which obviously, dealing with my daughter for the first time. I mean, she had lived in Hamilton, but I kind of felt like it was a very safe space when she was living in Hamilton. So now here she is for the first time, raised suburban, right? Going to the big city. So at her condo, it's so secure that they have fobs, and you actually cannot go between floors. So she currently got a dog as well. She missed the dogs that we have at home. So a year ago, she got a dog, and she has a dog sitter for her dog, Naya. And actually, she's very lucky, because her dog sitter, once again, due to COVID, her work changed, and now she works from home, and she lives on the 2nd floor. So this is all to say that whenever Sunny takes care of Naya, she actually has to use Alexia's fob to go to Alexia's floor and go pick up Naya. So you cannot move between floors at all.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So the reason I have you on the show is...
Yeah.
I didn't even tell you why.
No, you didn't.
Oh, okay. It was over Thanksgiving. I was talking to one of my clients. One of my clients is a teacher, so teachers have a pension. It's worth usually around, like, market value for their pension is close to $2 million.
Wow.
Right. And then she has not an enormous real estate portfolio, I think like 6 properties, right? So she's made around $2 million,
Yeah.
right, just with her investments. And I said to her, what was harder, earning your teacher's pension or earning your real estate $2 million in net worth, right? It only took her 10 years for the 2 mil as a side hustle while she was a full-time teacher, right? And then also she takes care of the family, like beyond being a breadwinner.
Right.
Also, like all the net worth for the family is from her.
Wow.
So she's able to take care of extended family as well.
Oh, that's
like,
amazing.
Like old age homes and stuff like that,
Yes.
about like $5,000-6,000 a month.
Wow.
Right. And I said to her, I hope your family spoils you because you are the household hero.
Yes, she is.
Right. I've met a lot of people, and not many people can do what you do. And what I find with real estate investors, the ones who aren't bragging on social media, is they're generally incredibly humble.
Yes, they are.
Very private too.
Yes. Yes.
And so when I thought about, wow, household heroes, I thought about you and Frank.
Oh, what an honor.
Right? But you tell me, who drove the decision to start investing in real estate?
Well, to be honest with you, I have to thank Carol Diaz, our good friend Carol Diaz.
Yeah.
Honestly, we always had this vision of having more than just our own primary residence, and talking about financial freedom of one day, not only being able to help the kids if we could, but even for ourselves. We had this dream of Frank retiring, and we were going to have our primary residence, possibly either rent or buy a property in Florida. We love Miami, and we also have property in Portugal. So our plan was to a couple of months here in Canada one day, a couple of months in Portugal, and the winter in Miami. So Carol once invited us to her cottage, her beautiful cottage. And she said, well, now that Alexi's going to McMaster, you should seriously think about investing in a house there, right? She had done the same thing for her son, Zach. And she said, it's pretty amazing. And obviously I was like, but how do you go about it? I still have a mortgage. And she said, you know what, I'm going to take you to one of my meetings. And she wanted me to meet you specifically, Mr. Hamilton. And she's like, you know what, and I'm here and I'll guide you through it. So that's exactly what happened. She was actually my motivator. I thank her all the time. I still get together with her often. And I always say, Carol, if it wasn't for you, she's a very humble person, and she's always willing to share all the information. She actually shared with me how to write a proper receipt. I remember she'd be like, okay, here's a copy of mine. I'm going to share with you. This is exactly, if you ever get audited, this is what the government, is looking for. So it's very important to have that network of friends who are amazing, right? Margaret was another person who helped me.
Retired.
I know, right? I think she's off to Paris right now. So so she helped quite a bit too. I remember when we had to go through the building inspector and draw drawings of how we wanted the basement to look, and it was like, oh my goodness. And she helped me out with that as well. So it was a network.
Yeah, it takes a village.
It takes a village. It really does. And then you made it really easy too, Erwin. I remember asking you, and you probably don't remember this. We were at one of the first properties, and I said, "Are you not afraid of having all these mortgages?" And he said, "No, as long as there are tenants, you're okay."
Yeah, as long as someone else is paying for it.
Right, and just the way you said it, and I remember you were sitting at one of the sofas, and I was like, he made it sound really easy. I think we got it. The key is as long as we have tenants. Okay, we got this.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, your daughter was moving in.
She was moving in. Yes. She was moving in.
So you either pay rent or you buy a house.
100%, right? And it was amazing because she moved in, and probably jumping a little bit ahead, but that house ended up having 7 rooms. So for the years that she was there, for 3 years, it was getting rent from 6 rooms, which was absolutely amazing. And she was there for free, and kept an eye on the place as well.
Did she enjoy the process?
She really did.
Oh.
She really, really loved it. So much so that she actually was encouraging her brother, who also is now in denturism school. He's at George Brown in Toronto Waterfront campus. And she actually wanted him to go away because he also got accepted to a program at Georgian College. But due to our circumstances for Leandro, different times, as you know, we went through a lot, so different times. And he made the decision to stay closer to home, and it's worked out.
Georgian College is far, isn't it?
It's in Aurelia.
That's far.
It's far. I know. That's where Carol has her beautiful cottage, and she said, "Well, if you need a place, you know how to reach, right?"
Right.
Yeah.
And it's not easy to buy a house in Etobicoke where George Brown is.
Right. Well, he's at the Waterfront campus in Toronto.
Yeah, so it's crazy expensive there.
Crazy expensive.
Right.
Luckily, because Alexia is at the Faculty of Dental School at U of T, he walks 20 minutes. So on the days that he has clinic, he stays with Alexia, and he walks to school, and then that's where her car comes into place, and he drives home because he's got his license. So he's also my little Uber driver now. He drives me around everywhere.
It all worked out.
It worked out really well, at least for now. We're going to take it year by year because, truth be told, as he gets busier with clinic, is it really feasible that he's sharing, a room with his sister? We're not really sure, So we're going to take it year by year and just do it that way.
So the decision to invest, do you think you and Frank were like even in your interest in doing so?
100%. 100%. Yeah,
Okay.
100%. And with your wisdom that you provided, contacts, we got in contact with, I believe, Dion Berg.
Beg, yeah.
And he, and he actually thought that we would be excellent investors. We had a plan. He drew up a plan, and our plan was to acquire 5 properties. He said it would be attainable within a year. And that was going to be our plan. We started off really well. We got 2 properties right away, literally within a month of each other, right? Purchased the first one November of 2015. The second one came December of 2015. And then we stopped a little bit because of the renovations of both of the homes, right?
Yeah.
They were family homes. One was actually an estate sale. One was also a retired couple who had been living in the same house for 6 years. So we had to convert it,
They were
so
tired.
to speak, right? Yeah, they were, just make the rooms more for students. So, yeah.
Student-proof the house. No, okay.
Yeah, well, you know what I mean, right?
I know.
Yeah.
I know. Do you remember what you paid for them?
Yes,
Oh,
100%.
good.
Yeah.
I'm glad someone does.
Yeah. So Beaucourt went for $366,000, and I know, right? And Oldfield went for 370. So they were pretty much the same price.
Okay. Do you want to know what they're worth today?
Yes, I'd love to.
Oh, you don't know?
I don't know. Like, is it close to $1 million, possibly, or is that too much?
Maybe like earlier this year.
Okay.
At the peak.
But, yeah.
Yeah. But today, I think conservative would be 8.
Which is amazing.
Yeah.
Absolutely amazing.
And you're on our emails that we.
Yes, I am. Yes. I saw that it's picking up again, which is great.
No, I don't. I think it's pretty hot actually.
Is it really hot? Okay.
Yeah. I saw 2 this morning that sold. One's sold done, firm. It was only on the market for 6 days.
Yes.
And the other one has a conditional sale, and it's only been 7 days.
Wow.
Yeah. So things are moving.
That's really good to know.
So when people ask me about the real estate market, like it really depends.
Yeah.
Right? Because here we're talking about a niche market. We're talking about near McMaster University.
Yes.
And then I'm in the area as well. So
yes, you are.
my experience was the pandemic sucked.
Yeah.
I think I got it worse than most. Did you have any vacancy during the pandemic?
Only for 4 months, so that wasn't bad at all.
Oh, okay.
It wasn't bad.
That's not bad at all.
Because obviously it was hard to get students, and I get it because having my own daughter, having paid rent for a year and really not having used the condo, I totally understood where they were coming from. So I remember showing the place, and they were interested. However, they didn't want to move in until September, right? And this is March. So we agreed halfway, and I said, okay, possession July 1st. So yeah, for those months that it was vacant, although I knew there was a group coming in, but they weren't interested in signing May 1st, right? So yeah, not quite 4 months, but but it worked out. It worked out.
So again, the prices vary. I'm going to guess your stuff's probably pretty nice. Like one really nice house sold for they sold for asking $950.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Full asking.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And so when people ask like what's the market like, it really depends.
Yeah.
And I think one of the hardest, like my opinion, I look at a lot. So
Right.
so the student market is possibly one of the hottest markets.
It's all about supply and demand, right?
Yes.
Supply is low, demand's high. So that's great to know.
It's actually funny because I know that many people got out, and even just talking to our clients, like Evelyn was telling me, like she saw her neighbors
Yes.
convert to either regular families,
Yeah.
from student to regular family, or they sold during the pandemic.
Right.
So yeah, like you said,
I know.
supply demand. So there's way less supply of rentals,
Right.
and the demand really hasn't changed.
No.
And so it's kind of like the pendulum has swung the other way.
Yeah, which is great. Yeah, because
Yeah.
the student numbers are still going to be the
Same or
same,
more.
right? Same. And now that everybody's back at school, and yeah, it was that unsureness as well. Student res, no student res. Exactly. And so a lot of parents, like I read in a lot of the emails, were scrambling to, oh my goodness. I had parents reach out to me knowing that I have rentals. And unfortunately, it's hard to turn people away. And they're like, do you have any friends? And I'm like, you know what? Everybody's okay right now. Everybody's got students.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, this is the highest I've ever had people reach out to me, like from all over the city.
right.
Right? People are like even asking to hire a realtor to help them find a place. Like
Wow.
I've never, yeah,
Never heard of that.
I've been a realtor since 2010. No one's ever asked me for realtor service to find a student rental.
Wow. It's crazy, right?
Oh, it's totally crazy.
Yeah.
And just like your experience, like I've never received so many inquiries about friends of friends looking for a place.
Yes.
Like they're great, blah, blah, blah. And then we started seeing rents like skyrocket.
Right?
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So in the summer, like Jamil was on my team, like he was seeing 800 a room for a vanilla house.
Wow.
Yeah. And then Rent Panda, they rented out, now this is University of Guelph,
Right.
but this is what I think we're going to see coming.
I think, yeah.
Apparently it was a really nice house, 7-bedroom. He got 7,500 a month.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is, yeah, that's excellent for us to know.
Yeah.
The flip side is being a parent who also pays rent. It's scary.
Oh, it's terrible.
Right. So I always tell even my student renters that I get both sides. I totally understand both sides. Right. So
Right.
yeah.
Oh, yeah. My side is.
I know. See, your kids are
inflation's
small
terrible.
right now. Your kids are small now, right?
Right.
So yeah, it's.
But the
just-
reality is inflation is just
yeah,
terrible.
it is. It is.
Right.
It really is.
Including my properties, and also we took a haircut during the pandemic as well. So this is just but I'm not gonna ask them to pay it.
No.
You just move on and
Yeah, and
or
just hope-
we're advertising for this. If someone wants it,
Exactly.
we'll let the market decide.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's actually in my opinion that probably the most optimal investment right now is student rental, preferably like some sort of multifamily, like a duplex or triplex. That'd be perfect.
Right.
Right. But nothing's perfect.
Nothing's perfect.
Right. So I actually didn't know that your plan was to buy 5 properties.
It was. It was.
Right. Because life happened.
Life happened.
Frank got sick.
He got
Because again,
sick.
I had no idea.
Yeah. We kept it private, I think, because we ourselves had to digest the information. So life was going really, really, really good for us. We, like I said, had those 2 properties. Frank being in the construction industry, obviously, those houses, they do look very nice. We made them look nice. And then we thought, you know what, we need a little break. So the students moved in and we're like, we're going to take a little break. And 2017, reach out to Erwin again and see what's out on the market. We took a nice vacation, Christmas of 2016. We did a cruise. And then, March of 2017, right at the beginning, Frank was diagnosed with glioblastoma, which is the deadliest form of brain cancer. And our world just flipped completely.
The reason I just looking back, the fact that you guys were buying property, I didn't know Frank was sick.
Yeah.
And then when Frank got ill, I actually was wondering, was this all part of the plan for his legacy?
Not in terms of
Short term.
Short term, right?
Yeah.
Like I said, we thought Frank was always a very healthy person. He was very proactive about his health. He was the one, like, it's time for us to go do our physicals and all that. But as we learned, glioblastoma is like life played Russian roulette on us. Honestly, there's no rhyme or reason. As a doctor explained, he was just very unlucky. As
Life
usually,
happens.
yeah, life happens, right?
Yeah.
And so our plan was to have financial freedom, help out the kids. Like I started telling you, travel. We love to travel. We traveled a lot. But yeah, when life happened, very, very happy that we have those properties, because there was a sense of, okay, you know what, if I need to make financial changes, I do have those 2 properties that I could always step into. I'm happy to say we're going on almost 5 years since he's passed, and still have those properties, and long term is to keep them. My daughter's going to have a really big debt once she's done with school. We don't know what kind of help. She hopes to open up her own practice, obviously. So right now, I don't know what those properties, what the end goal will be. Will it be to help them? We will see.
That's pretty cool, though.
It is.
You could wipe out our debt with just selling one house.
One house. Just with one house, right? Yeah.
It's pretty attractive.
It is. It really, honestly. And I try to preach this too. I know things are different now. I got into the market at the right time. I know it might be a little more complicated now with the prices, but I'm just so blessed that the universe at that time worked in our favor. It really did, because my reality is at 45, I became a widow. My son was 13. So he was in grade 8 when his dad passed away. Alexia was a 3rd year at McMaster. And all of a sudden I had to be everything, right? And the interesting
And
thing,
landlord.
and landlord,
Landlady.
mom, dad, and the only role I really recognized within myself was the role of mom, because everything else was taken away. I mean, I remember the first time the students called me, the fridge broke down, and I was like, oh my gosh, can't call Frank and say the fridge broke down. So I had to learn a lot. I had to learn how to not be afraid to sound like I knew what I was doing, because he would always take care of that stuff, right? I would take care of the administrative, making sure, everybody was paying rent on time and getting things ready for tax season. But anything went wrong, Frank would go to the property, fix it. Right? And all of a sudden I had to go into my Rolodex, so to speak, and learn how to contact plumbers, electricians, like a roofing company. And yeah, I've been able to do it. Thank God. I've been able to do it.
I tried out a new roofer in case you need one.
Yes, you did.
Yeah.
Honestly, I've used them twice. Because,
fantastic.
Yes. So, and that's what I do. I reach out to people that I know, and it's like, do you know, right? It's all about networking.
Yeah.
Do you know a roofing company? Do you know a plumber? Do you know an electrician? Yeah. And so, yeah.
Yeah, you reminded me of the landscaper I referred you to. Like, I haven't talked to him in ages. I need some work done.
And Robert's great. Robert has been my eyes.
Don't share his information with anyone, please.
No. He's awesome. Honestly, he's awesome. And he, because, by the time you factor in driving to Hamilton, right, cutting grass and all that, it's not worth it. And honestly, it's just great, because I know he goes there every week. And then any extra little things, like I need, like one of my backyards needed a little bit of decluttering, and he said, you know what, I can do that for you. So it's nice to have people that you can reach out to and help you out.
Yeah, some work for him. He probably won't.
I won't
tell him
that you
reminded me of
you're
him.
You're the one that gave me his contact.
Well, it's the job.
Yeah.
Right? Our job is to see people successful.
Yeah.
And the crazy thing is, a lot of people don't know, because it's no one's public about it. And social media is not real.
No,
right?
it's not.
Like there's I hear every week about people going bankrupt, right?
Yes.
People who are just way too aggressive, trying to get rich quick.
Yeah.
Excessive debt, expensive debt. Yeah, and they paid like coaches like $15,000-$17,000.
Yeah.
And like I'm all for coaching, but I'm an investor. I'm all about
Yes.
returns, right? Whatever you paid, what you invested in, if you invested in yourself, they're better in return. Now there's all these people with massive negative returns and bankruptcies.
Right.
Not just their own bankruptcy, but they also lost their partner's monies,
Right.
right? It's terrible.
Yeah, it is terrible.
Right? There's nothing like, versus what we were teaching is very conservative,
Very conservative. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I know it's a little aggressive being on the student rental side, but like your daughter's in the house. You have a community of people who
Yeah.
like you're basically your neighbors are your friends.
Yes. Yes. For sure. For
Right.
sure.
Right?
Yeah. You know what? I would be more afraid, to be honest with you, to be a landlord of non-student rentals. I think it's really easy with them. I always say, when I think of like renting out to families, and like I said, you see a lot on social media, that scares me more than having student. I always say, if you're good to them, they're going to be good to you. And it's a two-way street, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I've been very lucky. I mean, obviously, after my daughter left, I've had a few other groups. I have one house that actually, Ofield, is a very blessed house because they find tenants for me.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't even have to
Pay a lease fee
no.
or do it yourself. Yeah.
Yeah, because that house is actually, it's my master students, PhD students. So they find each other, and it's like, oh, I have a friend, blah, blah. Okay, fine.
Yeah.
So I have it advertised,
Mm-hmm.
Ofield, since I bought it. Actually, I didn't even have to advertise it, to be
Right.
honest, because Ofield was a group that was living across the street, walked across, and they said, oh, are you going to be renting this house? I said, yeah. And they were like, we're living across the street, but we like your house better. So, yeah.
Yeah, most student rentals are not nice.
No.
Like they're tired or they're just. For example, anyone can go look. Anyone go look for rental ads.
Yes.
Because we always got this. I don't know if you ever asked, but we got this consistently from our clients. Like, hey, I went on Kijiji. I went on the university's website, and the rents are much lower than what you're telling me. And like, why do you think they're not rented?
Exactly. Why do you think they're on Kijiji, right? Yeah.
Right. It's cheap because nobody wants it.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Versus we always priced higher and we were never vacant.
You have a good product, right? Well, you
Yeah.
know what you have.
Yeah.
So.
I don't know if we need a good, apparently we don't need a good product to get 800 a room though.
Well, now, yeah, once again, right? The supply and demand has made things change a bit. Yeah.
And that's the nice thing about student rentals right now is pretty much every landlord out there who's been around for a while, they have legacy rents, 3, 5, 6, 10-year-old
Yep.
leases, right? So they're way under market versus the students will turn themselves over naturally
For
as
sure.
they graduate and move on.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
Yeah.
So every 2 to 3 years, usually that's how long they stay,
Mm-hmm.
then you can up those rents, not a problem. It's like it starts all over again.
Yeah.
Clean slate.
I wonder if I can get 7,000 for a house.
Oh my goodness. Oh my gosh. Well, at this rate,
Well, we'll all need to talk. Make sure we're all on the same book.
For sure.
Book and the same page in
Yeah.
December. I hope my tenants are leaving.
I think mines are going to be staying until the end. I think they have a good deal with me, so I don't see them leaving.
Yeah, there's no reason for them to leave.
No, right? Yeah.
But they will leave, right?
Eventually they
Right,
will.
right.
They will.
Right. Versus I have tenants that I don't think will ever leave. like my regular tenants.
Like families,
Non-students,
right?
yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Or even individuals, right?
Right.
Who are like in their 30s or whatever. I don't know if they'll ever leave.
No, and especially the way the market is, yeah.
Even though it's cheap now.
I know, but who has the money for a down payment?
Mm-hmm.
That's a problem, especially first-time buyers, right?
So, I don't think I ever told you.
Okay.
When you told me about Frank's passing,
Yeah.
I'm a very, I don't know. I'll just say it. The first things that came out of my mouth was, thank God they have real estate.
Yeah, for sure.
Thank God you have those 2 properties.
Yeah.
Because even at that time, you probably made at least $100,000 in each of them.
Yeah.
Right? So you had immediate capital that was available to you pretty quickly.
Yes.
Should you want to divest them. But you didn't. You just stayed with the plan to hold on to them?
I stayed with the plan.
You didn't think about selling them?
No. You know
Really?
what? Luckily, we also had life insurances. So I knew if anything, first I'm going to use those funds and just let those properties keep growing. So yeah, I never, and you did message me that. You texted me and you said, I'm really sorry, but I'm so happy that you have those properties. And so am I. And so like I said, I was scared. I wasn't sure what my future was going to look like. But yeah, I never thought, to be honest with you, I thought of investing even more. I thought, okay, so I got this life insurance money. What should I do with it? Should I invest in real estate? And I almost reached out to you to start looking again. What stopped me was because now I didn't have Frank to do the construction. And I know that's where we saved a lot of money, right? He knew how to build stuff. And I was like, what am I getting myself into? I'm still...
It's not that bad.
Now looking back, I think it was a mistake on my part to not have invested.
Yeah, it's easy to look hindsight.
Right, I know.
Pre-pandemic renovation costs were a lot less.
100%, right? And yeah, and now I know that I've had people that I could have reached out to.
Yeah.
But all of a sudden, like I said, Erwin, the only way that I recognized myself was I just viewed myself as a mom. And slowly I had to adapt myself into all these different roles, right? And I thought, you know what, I'm going to continue the legacy. You know, the legacy was at least 5 properties, right? But yeah, so we hope to continue that once now the kids hopefully will become my partners as they get older. So, you know, the idea is still there, right? The hunger's still there. We'll see what markets will make sense to us as well. But yeah, no, I never thought about selling. To be honest with you, I knew how much it was a dream of his to have, you know, we have, like I said, our principal property and then have a property for each one of the kids, you know, if we could help them that way. So it was like, that was going to be, and it still will be the last thing that I do to sell those properties.
May I ask how much you rent them for right now?
So right now, as some of them leave, I'm starting to slowly increase, right? So like I told you, my Oldfield house, the one that's PhD master students, they help bring students in. So I started at that place with $530 a room. I still have one person that's still original, believe it or not.
Really?
Well, because master's, PhD.
That's 7 years ago.
Yeah, so he's still there.
Career student.
Yeah.
Or parents.
Yeah.
Massive student debt.
Then I slowly raised to 560, and now the new ones that have brought in, it's $600 a room.
Okay, still below market.
It is below.
That's still fantastic.
It's still
Could you
good,
imagine
right?
Like remember when you started? Could you imagine getting 600 a room?
No. I was already thinking asking 500 was like a lot.
Yeah.
And so, and a bulk cord, they're getting a really good deal, $550.
Oh.
But this was during pandemic, and I was really afraid.
Yeah.
I thought, you know what, I'm going to go a little bit lower, guarantee a group, then ask the 600.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah,
we'll
we'll
see what happens.
They're happy because they keep bringing. So 3 of them have, for the year, they have the co-op, and they want to hang on to the room, so they rented to somebody else. So they sublet, right, to somebody else so that they can come back because they know they have a good deal. And that's including everything, right? I pay for all the bills, internet and all. So they have a really good deal.
That is a really good deal. So for when we're releasing our properties, we actually, we usually have an idea who the captain of the house is.
Yes.
And it's usually them that we reach out to lease out our home for us. We usually we offer the money, $200, and then we also offer money to each of the students to compensate them for their for the disturbance.
Right.
So basically, and then we write the Facebook ad for them. We write them what to put in, and then they go and post it on Facebook in the students' off-campus housing group.
Right.
Like, hey, I got a great place. If you have a look at it, come DM me. Right. And then they become our leasing agents, and it's a fraction of a cost of hiring a leasing agent.
100%. Yeah.
And then also they provide they endorse what we do because we do good work.
Yes.
We're responsive. Our properties are tight. So again, and then also we have the buy-in from the whole group to leave their doors available and clean.
Yes.
Right, for showings. And again, like this has worked really well for us versus paying like a month's rent or something for our leasing agent.
100%.
Yeah.
So I got to do the same thing. So I call them my PR. Like I said, it's always
Public relations.
Yes, yes. So usually, I always said you're the first one that reached out to me when you were looking for a place, so you become the PR of the group.
Right.
So at anything that I need, I usually reach out to the PR of the group, and I do the same thing. Like I'm very blessed as well. But like I said at the beginning, if you're good to them, they're going to be good to us, right?
Mm-hmm.
So to be honest with you, I have never really had to go and show the property because they themselves do that for me. Similar to what you're saying.
Right.
So I'll put the ad and I'll say, you know what, I have a group that's interested. Are you guys okay with showing them the place? And they say, yeah, not a problem. So then bring them a box of donuts as a thank you, a gift card or something. And and it works out.
And I imagine masters and PhD students are pretty serious. They're not goofing around.
No, they're not. Very, very responsible students. I've never had any issues.
And then your other group, do you know what programs are?
The other group, so it's a new group, and I believe they're all in engineering programs. Yeah.
Yeah, so typically they don't have much time to goof around either.
No,
They have so many labs.
No, yeah, they do. They're very busy. And usually the engineering program is a 5-year program, so that means usually they're there for 4 years.
Got it. Yeah, my in St. Catharines, I've had a lot of luck with teachers college students.
Yes.
Yeah, because it's a really competitive program to get into.
Right, because it's the concurrent.
Yeah,
it's at Brock University, right?
Yeah, it's a Brock concurrent. So my point is, it seems the harder the program, often the better the tenant is.
Yes.
Yeah.
For sure.
Like engineering is difficult to get into. It's the obscene course load
Yeah.
and labs. Yeah, there's no time to goof off.
No, there's no. And actually, what I find interesting, they usually ask me, how quiet is the area?
Right.
Right. And I always tell them it's a very quiet area.
Yeah, because you're out of the fray.
Right. I'm closer to Fortino's on that side.
Which is perfect.
It's
People need to buy
perfect. Honestly, the bus, yeah.
Oh, and they have hot food. You never have to cook.
No, they don't have to cook. And I always tell them, actually, the way the bus route is, it's perfect. You'll always it's guaranteed you'll get to the university. As to where closer they get, sometimes like Emerson and those areas, the buses are full. And guess what? They don't get in.
Right.
So.
Yeah. Yeah, and that was something that was what our strategy was, to just stay out of the extremely hot area.
Yes.
Even though the demand was massive for within 400 meters of the school.
Yeah.
Often the properties were rough.
Yes.
Often that's where most of the garbage was.
Yeah.
Like garbage blowing around and people urinating on lawns.
Yes. A lot of parties.
Yeah. Versus your properties are about 15 minutes bus.
About 15 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah. And that was that's kind of been our a pretty consistent baseline for any property that we do.
Yes.
For any university, 15 minutes walk or bus.
Yes.
Right. It's worked out really well.
It has, because that was my concern, to be honest with you. And the first time when I looked at Klein, which was like location was perfect, but the house would have needed a lot more work than what the vision was different, right?
It was probably twice the age.
Twice the age, right?
Like 1920s versus 1960s.
Exactly.
Very different house.
Very different house, right? And so, but I was concerned, and usually that is their number one question. How far though? Like, how long will it take me? And I always say...
They don't know. They didn't look it up.
Right? I know. But I always use my daughter as an example of her loving that little bit of, if you want to call it a little commute, it's not a commute. It's just, it's a little bus drive. Yeah. It's perfect. Actually, a lot of students used to love walking. They're like, you know what? After a day of being in school, it's great to just walk home. So, yeah.
How long is the walk then?
It's about 25 minutes if you keep up a good pace.
Well, they're young people. They're
young people, right? Yeah. So instead of going to the gym, walk home.
I'm not even sure back then, like Fortino's had all the hot food.
They did. They did. And you know why I know? Because
So
when we
good.
were doing the renovations, that's where I would always go buy food. So, yeah.
Like literally, you have no reason to cook breakfast or dinner.
Nothing.
You
Yeah.
just-
Plus, they get, I think, 10% off on Tuesdays, being students as well.
At Fortino's?
Yeah.
Good Lord.
Yeah.
Oh, actually, sorry, for the listeners' benefit, other than being close to school, it's incredibly important to be close to grocery stores.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Maybe less so now with Uber Eats and all that.
Yeah.
But it's a big deal.
It is.
Yeah. And close to transit.
For sure. For sure.
Yeah. Which was all the criteria, which meant all those things, all those properties met
Yes,
the
it
criteria.
did. Yeah, it did. It did.
And also, of course, sorry, I apologize. Some people do listen to these things. We renovate with as much life safety as we can.
Yes.
And we do our leases as one.
Yes.
You still doing that? Yeah.
Yes, still doing that.
So we operate everything to keep the fire department and local bylaw officers happy.
100%. 100%.
So your experience has been a good one.
It's been awesome. It's been awesome. And I always say to them, my daughter lived in one of those houses, and the reason why we also purchased was because we knew, once again through Carol, the garbage that is out there, and the thought of we've always protected our kids, right? They're suburban. They live in homes. I mean, I grew up sharing bathrooms, right? Our kids have no concept of that. So going from homes that have everything and anything, and then moving into one of these houses that, I mean, she had a friend that actually had mushrooms growing between the baseboards. Believe it or not, it was in a basement room.
Oh my God.
Right?
Closer
Closer to
mold.
the, yes, it is mold. Closer.
That's a very advanced stage of mold inside the house.
Right? That's scary.
That's terrible for air
That's terrible,
quality.
yeah. So can you imagine what's actually going behind the walls if you're already starting to see that coming
You know how
through?
rare that is? I haven't seen that many of them.
Well, I actually saw pictures because I couldn't believe it myself, and it was crazy. So I knew that we had to have standards, right? So I'm one of those people, whatever I want for my kids, I'm going to want for other people's kids too. So yeah, and that was the other thing too, basement rooms, right? People are like, oh, how many basement rooms do you have? And one house has no basement rooms, and the other one has 4. And they're like, well, and I'm like, come and check out the place.
Yeah.
My daughter actually preferred a basement room versus an upstairs room.
Yeah.
And here are the reasons. One of the main reasons was she liked more of her privacy. When you're upstairs, it's also the common area. So it can be a little bit noisier. So I've had no problems. Once they walk in, they're like, okay, yeah, we like these basement rooms.
I find a lot of boys prefer the basement because it's cooler.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've had, to be honest with you, I've had groups of girls, groups of mixed boys and girls, and now it's a group of guys, and no complaints whatsoever.
And the guys are the
engineering students, yeah.
yeah. What do you think Frank would think about all this?
I think he'd be pretty proud. Honestly, I think so. I always, it's a question that I always, every decision that I've made since he passed, I always think, would he have agreed with this decision? Is he okay with, the things that I'm doing? But one thing for sure, I know he wants me to hold on to these houses. Not only so that I can have some financial freedom one day, but definitely to help out our kids. Because that was the end goal, to be honest with you, was to help out our kids.
What kind of debt situation do you think they'd be in without these houses? Well, they're still in them, but
They're
again,
still gonna be
you have
in
the
them.
option to wipe it out.
100%, right? Like we just said, if we decide, you know what, Alexia, you have this big debt, she will have a big debt. She'll have, when she's done these 4 years, approximately a debt of $300,000. That's just the reality. Yeah. And then she hopes to open up her own practice.
It's a mortgage for
It's
some
a
people.
mortgage, right, Aaron? It's insane.
Student debt.
It really is. And I wish I could have helped her, but obviously with our situation now and with Frank not being here, even if Frank was here, to be honest with you, we got to be real. Like, it's $50,000. That's a lot of money.
Yeah.
Plus my son, who's now also in denturism school, and his tuition is $23,000 a year. So just on tuition alone.
Can't they just learn these things on YouTube?
I know, right, Leandro?
I heard you don't need school anymore. You can? Did you even try? It could save you $23,000 a year.
Right?
You need all the materials and all and everything.
Yeah, it's the material. The materials are just as
You need
expensive.
all the tools, all the materials.
Yeah.
You just go on AliExpress.
Right?
You'll have
No.
it in 4 months.
You know what? They actually do a breakdown of how much, the courses, just for materials, it's over $6,000. Right? And I know with Alexia's tuition, too, a big part of it is all because of the materials that they use. So
So plans just to keep holding on to them?
Yeah, that is the plan.
All right, you guys are gonna suck up the debt then.
They realize how fortunate they are. They really do.
Yeah, because the motivation for me to buy the houses for my kids was I didn't want to pay for their university. I wanted someone else to pay for it.
Right.
And that's what the investment properties were
Yeah.
for. I was budgeting for like a $70K tuition, 4-year tuition. How many years does Leandro have?
3. His program's 3 years.
And then that's it? You're done?
And then he should be done. But Alexia's route was completely different, right? So she did her 4-year undergrad at McMaster, so that was her biochemistry degree, and that was, like I said, about $45,000. And now we're looking at $300,000, another 4 years. Now, if she decides to specialize, we're looking at even more. So she may not be done.
Yeah. Here's the other thing about why I bought the properties. That's actually one of my clients. His name is Rob. I won't say his last name. He made the point to me. He was sharing with his own experience with one of his daughters. Also, he also bought a house for his daughter. I bought a couple for them for his daughter in McMaster University. Anyways, his point was he was sharing with me a conversation he had with his daughter. She was interested in potentially going to medical school, but then she thought, I can't afford it. Maybe I should work a couple of years. And his point was, I think there's too much risk that she won't go back to school. Just because it's hard to go back.
Right.
Once you take a break, it's hard to go back. So his point was like, I don't want her to make this decision of going to med school or not over money. Right.
Right. You know what? Alexia took a year off. So I think it also depends on how motivated you are. Sorry. Getting into dental school is extremely hard. I don't know if you know a little bit about the process, but we only have 2 dental schools here in Ontario. We have U of T and Western. That is it. It's
Right.
very competitive.
Right. And in Canada, there's not many, period.
No, not many. There's
know
one
there's
in BC and
UBC.
and Dalhousie in the East Coast.
We're talking about 4 in Canada?
That's it. That's all we have. So when you think of how many students apply, it's a very, very competitive
Right.
school. There are a lot more options for med school, but when it comes to dental school, and so she took 6 months to study for this big exam, which was a 6-hour exam. So called the DAT, right? There's the MCAT, which is for medical school, the DAT for dental school, and then a series of other basically tests she had to do. She had, it was a really, really hard process. So she graduated in 2019. And so she took that year, the 6 months after graduation. So from June, and she wrote her DAT exam in November. So you write the exam, and then you have to wait until February to know if you have been accepted for an interview. So then she got an interview process at U of T, and then only after the interview did she get the yes, you've been accepted. And over 2,000 apply, only under 100. I think her program has 98 per year. So it's very competitive. And yeah, obviously you have to have excellent grades.
Near perfection.
Yeah, near perfection. Oh yeah, your GPA has to be a 4. But they don't longer just look at your GPA. You have literally ethnic tests that they do. They want to know where your ethics are, believe it or not. Yeah, like where your ethics are. And then the final is, imagine you're put in groups. So you go into different rooms, I should say, and they're given questions by a professor. And it's all based on their personality as well. So it's a very, very long process to get into dental school. So for her, it worked out. She was going to attempt to write while she was in 4th year, but she was doing a thesis, and that alone was quite a bit. So, and obviously with dealing with her dad's passing, it's interesting because once somebody did say that to her, oh, you're going to take a break, you're never going to go back. And I think that actually even fueled her more to say, you know what, don't assume anything. We're all individuals, we're all different people, we want different things. So for her, it worked out.
Do you feel reassured that knowing that you have investments that she can go on to
100%.
become
Oh, 100%, Erwin.
become a specialist?
Yes, 100%, 100%. But we've always, Frank and I have always done investing in our kids' futures in different ways. So real estate has just been one, but we actually invested in CST, Canadian Scholarship Trust Fund, from the day they were born.
I don't even know what that is.
Okay, so that's the private version of RESPs.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so and that worked really well. That was once somebody too who said to me, "Your daughter's too. Have you thought of an educational fund for her?" And I was like, "No, I've just heard of RESPs." And so he said, "Well, there's a company called Canadian Scholarship Trust Fund, and they're really great." And you know what? That was the best thing. So yeah, when Alexia was 2, we started. So we would contribute $200 a month. So when she turned, before she turned 18, because she's a December baby. So when she was ready to go to university, she had $30,000 in this account that that had been saving. So university cost nothing, to be honest with you, because we had this, and then the grants as well. So with the grants that she also got every year that she was studying because of this trust fund, we were lucky. University cost her nothing.
Okay.
And the same thing now for Leandro. So Leandro, because I knew what I was getting myself into, so the earlier you start, the more shares you have. So I started as soon as Leandro was 0 months. And happy to report that I just received $45,000 from this fund. So what I did once, there's a 7-year difference between my kids. So when Alexia finished, I called the company and I said, "Well, I'm used to putting in $400 because I was putting in $200 for each one. Can I now do this just for Leandro?" And they said, "Absolutely."
So full 400 for Leandro.
Full $400 for
Right.
Leandro, because I was used to it, right? It was like
Right.
a little mortgage payment that we were used to doing. So yeah, so I just got $45,000 principal payment, and he just got a grant of almost shy of $10,000.
Yeah, I don't know why I've never.
You've
heard
never
of
heard
this.
of? Yeah.
No.
Look them up, Canadian Scholarship Trust Fund. I only have great things to say. So we already had, so right now I'm okay because, and that's why I didn't have to touch or even think about selling the properties, because we had this. We also had critical illness insurance, which was amazing. So as soon as Frank was diagnosed, we had critical illness insurance for $100,000, and we were able to collect that right away. And we also collected insurance money that we also had life insurance money. And so that has helped us tremendously.
Sounds like you had this pretty well planned.
We did, Erwin. Honestly, we had everything really well planned except for one thing. We only made, I think, one big mistake. So when we basically got a home line equity credit line, we got that from our principal residence that we actually were able to pay off. We bought our principal residence in 1999. By 2012, we were mortgage free. So we were doubling up our mortgage payments. Obviously, the property was a lot cheaper than what they are now. But in 1999, we paid $207,000 for our main residence. I know, right? At the prime of the market now, and I don't live in a big home. I live in a detached, semi-detached, but it's a wide lot, so it's comfortable for us. It's funny because every time Frank, working in construction, obviously was at every site you can think of, and every time we thought about upgrading to a bigger home, my question to him was, "Will it change the way we live our life?" Though we love to travel, we were very blessed. My kids have seen a lot. We were traveling twice a year. So that was always my question. Having a bigger house, will that mean a bigger mortgage? And the answer was always yes. So I'd be like, "Nope, I'm happy." And I was privileged because I was a stay-at-home mom. So for me, it was really, really important, being there for my kids, being the first face that they would see in the morning, being the one picking them up after school, being the first person to hear about how was your day at school. That was just important for me. And for Frank, we agreed. So he was the sole breadwinner of the family. And so at the peak, the houses were going for $1.2 million right now. But yeah, sorry, I kind of lost my train of thought. We were talking about so many things.
Even
but-
you said that you had a regret. I'm still
Oh,
waiting
sorry,
for
the
it.
regret. Yeah, sorry. So the regret was when we took out $200,000 to invest in these properties in
Yeah.
Hamilton. I remember vividly the bank person saying to us, "Do you want to get life insurance on it?"
Right.
And I said, "No. What's $200,000, right?"
Yeah.
We honestly thought we had a plan. We were going to do what we did before. We were going to double pay, right? So we knew that one payment was all towards principal. And yeah, when you owe already so much money, I don't know, 200,000 didn't seem like a lot, to be honest with you. And he's like, "Are you sure?" And we're like, "No, we're going to pass on that." This was 2015, and he was diagnosed in 2017. So I still have a mortgage now because that was our only mistake, was not having gotten life insurance. Now, I presently have life insurance on my mortgage. God forbid something happened to me. At least the kids are okay.
You got insurance via the bank or
The bank. But I have private life insurance.
right.
Believe it or not, my kids already have life insurance too, and critical illness. And a lot of people are like, they have life insurance? Oh yeah, because their principal will, their payment will be the same for the rest of their life. And with inflation and rising costs, they have pretty good insurance, and they're paying. I'm paying for them, but one day they will take over $150 a month for $350,000.
And then the critical illness?
Critical illness is $100,000. So it's $100,000 critical illness, $250,000 life insurance,
And that costs you $150 a month?
and $150 a month.
It's not
Right?
bad.
I think it's pretty good. Think about it. One day when they're in their 50s and people are paying thousands of dollars possibly, they're still going to be paying $150. And the way the critical illness insurance works, if you don't use it in 20 years, you get it all back.
The kids know how lucky they are?
They do. They do. They really do. They honestly, the three of us, we're a team. They know everything, every decision that we make. We're actually in the process of selling a property that we own in Portugal right now. So
No.
yeah, that one we are going to sell because we don't use it. We don't need it. And so yeah, we're in the process of taking care of that. But every decision that's made, it's made between the three of us.
What's the process like in selling a property
Very
in Portugal?
complicated. Very complicated. So the way the law in Portugal works, when a spouse passes away, so when Frank passed away, not only do I inherit property, they inherit as well, automatically. It's just to protect. Yeah. See here,
Yeah, even though they're minors.
it doesn't matter. They get they get their share automatically. It's kind of to protect kids. So
Really?
it complicates things though,
Would
right?
it override a will?
If I had a will,
Yeah.
right? But we didn't think about a will.
Yeah.
And so we actually were waiting for Leandro to turn 18 so we can sell this property. It would have been even more
Excuse
complicated.
me, you can't sell it because he's a minor?
We could have Erwin, but the thing is, he would need to have like a sponsor. So I couldn't be his sponsor because of obviously conflict of interest.
Wow. Complicated.
Yeah, it's very complicated. And even now, there's a big possibility the three of us might actually have to fly out to Portugal to sign, the contract, because we need power of attorney. Well, in order to have power of attorney, we each need to have somebody with power of attorney. We need to go through the Portuguese consulate, and that is a nightmare right now. Even to try to get an appointment to go there, it's months on end. So my lawyer said you might have to come here, which...
Not the worst.
Not the worst, but right now with Alexia's...
Might be deductible.
Right? Well, I don't know. But, right now with Alexia being in dental school, she can't just... Like, Leandro next week actually has the week off. It's his reading week. But not Alexia. So, and all three of us have to be present. But it is a very complicated process.
It's not like here at all.
No, not at all.
That's the thing that people need to consider. Like for example, like I see all these people. I don't understand the path, but because I'm so risk adverse, so I'm not the right person to ask. I see people for like investing in Ontario,
Yeah.
and like, I can't do whatever I want here, so then they go to New Brunswick, and then I can't do what I want to do here. Then they go to the States, and like, I can't do what I want to do here. Then they go to the Caribbean.
Right. Yeah.
Where like property law is so different everywhere you go.
Yes, it is.
And like for example, my friend who has a property in Costa Rica, like here, like we have a legal description for our property.
Yes.
Very, very specific. His legal description is like how many meters away he is from the main intersection.
Wow. That's yeah. Yeah, it's like you said,
Right.
every country has very different laws.
Yeah, like to me, that's too much.
Yeah.
I'm incredibly risk adverse, I'm not the person to talk about making money fast. So
You've always said it's long term, right? What's your long term goal?
yeah, get rich slow.
Yeah.
And we had none of us predicted these
No.
properties would shoot up so
Yeah.
quickly. No one expected the governments to print so much money in a global pandemic, but
Right.
yeah. All right. Yeah, your misses don't sound that bad.
No. I know.
But I think all listeners, if you are investing, if you have any sort of complexity in your investments and your assets, I think wills are a thing.
For sure.
I'm not anyone to talk though. Cherry and I only got ours done like 2 years ago, so we waited pretty long.
You did. Yeah. Yeah, because even when it comes to wills and things like that, nobody really wants to talk about it.
Yeah.
I didn't have a will either. To be honest with you, we didn't have anything until Frank was diagnosed. And I'll never forget the surgeon after Frank came out of surgery. He said to me, this is fatal. That he's going to pass away. And like right now, I can say these words to you and actually understand what they mean. But at the time, you always have hope. And he said, do you have a will? Do you have power of attorney? Do you have medical direction? And I was like, what? He goes, I suggest you get that done as soon as possible while he's still coherent, while he still understands. So imagine my position, Erwin, knowing that my husband, literally, the doctor is telling me he's going to die. He has between 7 months to 14 months to live. And how do you bring up, we need to get a will done. So somehow I did. I don't even remember exactly how I started the conversation. I think we're in the hospital, and I think I said something like, you know what, maybe this is a sign from the universe that we need to get our paperwork. And we did. He came out of the hospital, and the next day we were at the lawyer's office getting it all done, because I knew I was literally racing against time, right? And because the minute he started with radiation, which was like a month after his surgery, he changed. And he just was never the same Frank. And I think that's why we kept it so private. Had you seen Frank, the person he became with the illness, it was just, I didn't want people to see him that way. So I was protecting him. So even now, the image you have of Frank is of Frank, being there. And so I just wanted to protect him. I wanted to, like I said, the image you had of Frank was Frank working at the houses and being so happy. Remember, we wanted to make sure how the basement was, and even that house on Oldfield, we got it because we had no conditions on it. And he just became a very different person. I mean, they took his I'm sorry. I am so sorry. I apologize for this.
It's okay.
He became a very different person. They took his driver's license away from him automatically. Sorry.
Wow.
And and he had bought a new truck. He had bought a new truck. He wanted this Ford truck. He bought it January of 2017, and he was diagnosed in March. So he drove it twice. And so that's why we kept it very private. A lot of people didn't know he was sick. And then his funeral is very private too. There were 20 of us at his funeral. That was a decision my kids made, especially Alexia. I remember her saying, I don't want people to come and tell me, your dad was a great man. Because I knew my dad was a great person, right? And so those have been our choices.
Well, I still think you both qualify as household heroes.
Thank you so much. It's honestly, we're trying our best, right? We're trying our best. And like I said, I think we did everything well. We prepared ourselves. We thought we were going, like I said, travel. We wanted to continue traveling a lot. That's one thing too we've been able to do. I mean, pandemic did what it did. But in 2018, we did go to Portugal. 2019, we were very lucky. We went to Italy, we went to Greece, and we did Portugal. So we were gone for a month. So that's something that was very, very important for the kids to explore the world, right? We just went to Punta Cana this summer. So we're still continuing with a lot of that. And now we have 3 dogs. So that's the biggest change that I think that's the only thing he would not have agreed on with us. Not that he thought dogs were cute, but you know, it just wouldn't really fit our lifestyle because we love to travel so much. But wouldn't change them for anything right now. They've been you know, part of our healing process. So, but we always say it's that, and we actually made another little investment. We have a little resort style cottage in Muskoka. It's basically, you know, like Shirks and Shores, where they've turned used to be trailer parks into trailer home parks. So we did that in also 2020 because of the pandemic. We were like, where are we gonna go? We have the dogs, we like to travel, and Alexia came across this resort called Great Blue and Lantern Bay, which is close to Gravenhurst. And we went to go check out this place, and we fell in love with it. So my best friend and I went on it as partners, and we co-own this little place, and it's great. It's like a resort style place. So we have our own private beach, pools. We have use of kayaks. So if I ever post, say that I'm in Muskoka, that's where we are. There's a marina, so whoever has a boat has a marina. And so that's another thing where, like, would Frank have agreed with this Muskoka lifestyle? Because he didn't believe in always going to the same place. And that's exactly what we're doing. Keep going to the same place, right? But yeah.
What would you tell someone who's on the fence about investing?
Oh, go for it, 100%. 100%. I tell my best friends all the time. They never took the pledge. And I tell them, yeah, Frank, that was the biggest thing Frank wanted for them was to invest. But they're like, well, we don't know which university our daughter's going to. She ended up going to McMaster, believe it or not. And I remember saying the same thing. Carol's like, it doesn't matter. The rule that I've learned is you should be within like a certain limit, right? Like area. And McMaster makes perfect sense. Even if Alexia goes somewhere else and you know, that could subsidize for her rent. Like that can help you for her rent somewhere else. Because that actually ended up happening with her daughter, Nicole, who went to Laurier, I believe Nicole went. So she said, you know, she's not going to McMaster, but guess what? I have enough now coming from McMaster that I can use that to help pay her rent. So yeah, so I always told my best friends, do it the way we did it, right? And you know what? They haven't invested. Their house is paid off. And I'm like, what are you guys waiting for? Right now they're like, well, the market's different.
That's a great market.
Right now it is, right? So I got to have the conversation with them again.
Our market's off like almost 30%. It was actually in the paper this morning that like Toronto is down this and Hamilton's also down this. Like, they only have space for like 3 cities. Look how terrible it is.
Right?
So prices are down.
I think what worries them, to be honest with you, is so if I have kind of that type of mortgage, like they always say, oh, well, we'll pay a lot more for the properties than what you paid. Yes.
Yeah.
Our mortgage will be
It's
a
called
lot
inflation.
higher. Yes, exactly. So how do we make the numbers work? So that's what they always worry about. How do we make the numbers work? Because they know my situation, right? Like, it's very profitable for me right now with 12 rooms, right? I think there's like a net at the end of the month of $1,500
Each?
both together.
That's pretty good.
That's really good.
Did you really
right?
want to Leandro that?
Right, Aaron? I know, right?
That's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money, and that's why I also wanted to invest, because I was like, oh, maybe that can actually even help cover another mortgage, or but yeah, eventually we'll get there again.
Yeah. No, Cherry and I are gonna buy another property within 12 months.
Are you?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
See that maybe that's what we got to do.
Like what market's different. 10 months ago, prices were high, interest rates are low.
Yeah.
Now interest rates are high, prices are low. What would you rather have?
I know, right? The lower price, especially if you have tenants who are paying for your
Yeah.
mortgage, right?
Yeah. And specifically student rental rates.
Student rentals, I love them.
But the rent though is well exceeded inflation.
Yes, yes,
So it's like,
yes.
what else do you want?
It's a win-win situation for us. No pun intended, but it's a
Yeah.
win-win.
Yeah. No. Yeah. Yeah. You know, my 2 cents. Not that it matters, but I think Frank would be incredibly proud of you all.
Thank you so much,
Especially
Erwin.
the kids.
Thank you. Thank you.
Right. I remember Leandro was. I think he was doing the. I forget which dance. You were teaching me one of the dance that the cool kids were doing. He was 11 at the time.
He was 11 at the time, yeah.
Because we're in an empty property. Probably was an estate sale, so it was empty, very
Yes.
tired looking. He
Yes.
was bored, and yeah. And here he is now. He's a man.
I know. Like, yeah. And honestly, a lot of people ask me, "Are your kids closer to you now that Daddy isn't here?" And I'm like, "No, we were always like this. We always had a very strong foundation, strong base.
Mhm.
We believed in doing things together."
Mhm.
Now, do they have a different appreciation for their mom? Possibly. They see that no matter what, we don't quit. No matter how hard things get, we push through it, and we have. And I think, if anything, that's the legacy that I hope to leave for them now. Is no matter how hard life gets, you just push through it, and everything will be okay. The end result may not always be what you want it to be. Like, obviously, we wish Frank was here. There's always like, I wonder what life would have been like right now. Like, how many more properties would we have had? But that's going to be left in that other lifetime. And now we could only move forward
Right.
and have different dreams and continue.
Yeah. Bigger's not necessarily better.
Yeah,
You know, having the outcomes that you have, 2 kids in school, 2
Yeah.
happy, healthy kids.
exactly.
That's more important.
Exactly.
than how
Because,
many properties you have.
100%, Erwin. Because, the odds, when you think of like all of a sudden, they could have gone the other way,
Mhm.
right? With the loss of their dad. And especially Andrew went through a lot because Alexia was away. She was sheltered by being in school. But Leandro was there. He was my right arm taking care of Daddy. So he's 18 now, but he's very mature because he's seen a lot. And yeah, like now today he drove me. He's my Uber driver, as I call him.
So there's different levels of like financial whatever. Like there's financial security, there's financial freedom, which is the other end of the scale. There's financial, damn it, I forget the name of it. It was in Tony Robbins' book. How would you describe your situation? Like you've never gone back to work?
I've never gone back to work, no. So we also have a little construction company as well, which my brother manages in the sense of he's doing what Frank was doing, right? My brother always worked for us. So right now, between whatever profits I get from the company, I have a salary from the company. And that's that. And Frank had a pension. I forgot to mention that to you. So he worked for, his union was Local 183. So, because there was a 13-year difference between Frank and I. At 55, he got his pension, even though he was still working. Almost like a teacher's, you can get your pension. Because of the age difference, he didn't get his full pension right away, which it was a smart thing to do. So I will get his pension for the rest of my life. As long as I'm living, I get his pension. So that's another source. I know, another source of income.
I've got to imagine Frank's pretty proud of himself.
Yeah, he is. Honestly, like I told you, we did almost everything perfect except getting that life insurance on our principal residence. But nothing's perfect, right?
Nothing's perfect.
Yeah.
Those who wait for perfection often don't do anything.
100%.
Which is way worse.
Yeah. So a lot of people wonder, how does she do it? Well, I got to thank my husband. Obviously, it was a collaboration between both of us where we'd be like, yeah, maybe we should get this and maybe we should get that. And we were really prepared in case things went bad. Not that we ever thought they would, right? But here we are.
All right, Arminda, thank you so much for doing this.
Aaron, thank you.
Oh, and FYI, Margaret and Carol have still yet to come on the podcast. You're the first one here.
Really? Oh, and you
Yeah.
know, they have a lot of valuable information.
They don't think so.
Oh, they do.
Yeah.
They do. Well, they're both traveling.
No, before they were traveling, they were invited.
Well, yeah, you got to get them because honestly, like I said, I owe everything to Carol, especially all her guidance. All her guidance. Even I remember the first lease before we had to use the Ontario leases. She was like, here's a lease. Here's what you're going to do.
Yeah.
It's
the lease I gave her.
Oh, okay. So, so we have to thank you. We have to thank you.
No, it's
right?
okay. It's part
We have
of
to
the
thank
job.
you. Yeah. So, yeah. But you know what? She made it easy for me.
yeah.
And I was willing to do the same for my best friend. I told her, listen, the tools that I was given, I will pass them on.
Like, you better believe I'm going to give my lease to Carol, who's a lawyer. Like, free lawyer review.
Look at that. You see?
You got a free lawyer review, too.
Honestly, what having really good friends, right? This is what even the first meetings that we went to, she took me as a guest.
Yeah.
So that's how I learned a lot of stuff.
Yeah. You just take the first step.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's
We still have the meetings. Not as frequently, but we still have them. Yeah.
yeah. And even all the things that Sherry puts out, it's so valuable. It's absolutely amazing. So you guys are a wealth of information.
We try.
No, you really are. You don't try. You guys work really hard. You guys work really, really hard.
Could work harder.
Yeah. Oh, I don't think so. You know what? You got to live life too.
Yeah, Cherry wants to go to Portugal. We can talk to her about it.
Oh, and you should. Honestly, I always say Portugal is such a hidden gem. Like, people think of Italy and Spain. Portugal looks exactly the same, but a lot cheaper.
Because going to America is not nearly as attractive with exchange rate now.
No, it's not. No, it's not. No, it's not. And it's nice to go to Europe, right? Have you been to that side of the world? Or?
Not in a long time.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Arminda, thanks so much for doing this.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure and an honor. Thank you so much.
Thank you for watching. If you want to learn how to invest in real estate from scratch, my team teaches beginners how to use the #1 investment strategy that I personally use in a virtual free training class every month. Go to investortraining.ca/YouTube to register for our next class. The link is also in the description as well. I publish at least 2 to 3 videos a week here, so subscribe if you want to keep learning from seasoned investors like myself and my guests. And if you're just starting out, feel free to ask questions and comment below, and I do the best to answer each of those comments and questions myself. Again, if you're ready to learn the nitty-gritty about real estate investing from a professional investor, register for our next virtual class. That's at investortraining.ca/YouTube. Thanks again for watching. See you in the next video.